Okay. We tried to arrange the room so that everybody could see. It's a little awkward with the social distancing, but we're doing the best we can. Can you just do me a favor and go just double check that the audio is up and running?
Oh, yeah, just, is it live streaming?
Yes,
Yep.
it's live now.
I will check in the hall.
Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Could I ask why that gentleman's not wearing a mask?
Yeah, why aren't you wearing
Well,
a
I'm
mask?
6 foot from everyone, so,
Well, but we're in an enclosed space, and I'm a senior, so
and I am as well, so I will put it
a
on.
little
We're
sensitive.
both seniors, let's
Yes,
establish
sir.
that now.
Yeah. Okay, if you will refer to the package that has the town seal at the top, the yellow and black town seal. The second page is the agenda, that's what we'll be following. Good? Okay, great. So the first thing that we need to do, and most of what we're going to be talking about tonight pertains to the board, but you all need to hear it because when it comes to what we're doing on election day, you'll need to be aware of that. So, first things first, we need to select a chair. Now, I know you all are new, some of you, 3 of you are not, you've done this before, but we do need to have a chair selected. So if someone would like to nominate someone else or themselves. Okay.
What's the chair's responsibility?
The chair's primary responsibility is to be available on election day to go between the polling places as needed. The other thing is that they sign off on the certification of the election results.
I will volunteer if no one else will like to do it.
Okay? All right, then we need to have a vote on approving Steve Freen as the chair of the Board of Supervisors of Elections.
I move to,
I'm sorry, it's for the board only.
oh, I beg your pardon.
That's okay. That's okay.
So moved.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, Steve, you are the chair. All right, on to our next item, the minutes from the September 8th meeting. If you could review those, and I can have a motion to approve. Excuse me. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to pass out stuff when it gets to that point. And you did say you left it unlocked,
I
correct?
did. I did.
Okay, if someone wants to make a motion on the minutes?
Motion to approve?
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Quickly, we'll review the remainder of the election schedule. This afternoon at 5 o'clock was the deadline for people to submit their absentee applications by mail. They still have until Friday to apply in person. Write-in candidate filing or the withdrawal of candidacy was also deadline today. Neither of those applied. No one wrote in, no one withdrew. The next deadline would be the 1st, and that's really a deadline for me. It's the last day that I can put a ballot in the mail to someone. But most people at this point will apply in person, so it's not even an issue. Again, the deadline for submitting an absentee application in person is October 2nd, and then election day is October 6th. Here you go, Jeff. And this this is for the board members.
Board members only?
Yes. These are updates to your guidebook, as we do every time. We have a few things that need to go out. What Jeff is passing out now is a list of the election materials. This will be what you will have on hand on election day to conduct the election. And we'll go over this in more detail in a little while. And that's, I think, the section, what section is on there?
2.
Section 2 of your books.
Yes.
There's extras there, Jeff, for you and Kelsey.
Thank you.
And then this goes into section 3. And again, we'll go into greater detail on this. This is the paper ballot procedures. So written instructions for how to process voters and ballots on election day.
Did this handout goes in section 3?
Sorry,
Did this handout goes in section 3?
I can't tell what
Yes,
that is.
that goes in 3.
Yes.
Okay.
My vision doesn't reach that far.
Mine, hi.
And you're one short on this, Mary.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Who's missing one?
Just me.
Oh, okay, I can get that to you tomorrow. And then the next 3 pieces are information only. You just put them in the backs of your books. They're there just so that you've got the information.
You want me to hand something?
Yeah, you could, that would be
Or
great.
you want me to do the other half? Or you got it?
There's 3 sections there.
Of course.
You wanted the other half?
We'll give Kelsey and Jeff a minute to pass those out.
Hold on, let me try to give you-
Actually, while they're doing that, why don't we do this? The board members, you've all met each other, but the poll workers have not met you. So we'll have you introduce yourselves to the poll workers,
Information
and the
only.
poll workers introduce themselves to you. So Steve, I'll start with
Information
you.
only.
Hello, my name is Steve Freeney, live on William Street. My wife and I are former owners of Victorian Charm, and I'm the current Berlin Chamber of Commerce president.
Hi, I'm Tony Bowen, Mark Spandola. We live on Flower Street. And we had a business here in town, the beauty shop, down on the other end of the street.
Jeff.
I am Linda Bowen, and I live on Schoolville Street. I'm a former employee of the Postal Service, and I just retired 13 years of school bus.
I'm Nikki Chavis. I live right here on Main Street, and I work at the Berlin Chamber of Commerce.
My name is Preston Whalen. I stay on Schoolfield Street. I retired from the Worcester County Board of Ed, also the Worcester County Sheriff Department. And I'm just laying back, taking it easy.
Cassidy?
Cassidy Fisher. I live on Pine Street. How are you?
And you have a famous father.
Ms. Shorten?
My name's Susan Schwarten. I live on Powell Circle, and my husband and I are 20-year compeers.
My name is Linda Bowen, and I live on Flower Street. And I'm a retired postal worker.
So these 3 ladies, and there is actually one more, are going to be there to assist you on election day. This is the first time we have hired, well, no, I shouldn't say that. We've usually had just 2 additional poll workers. This time we have 4. We're anticipating with the face coverings, the social distancing, that there's going to be a little more need for some additional help. So they will be on hand to assist with that. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual training for election day. It's a lot of material, a lot of details, but I assure you, it is not difficult stuff. It just seems like a lot of steps, but once you actually get there on the day and start doing it, it's really very easy. Kelsey, if you can... So what's on the screen is also on your table in front of you. You can take notes as we go through and go from there. One of the most important things that I emphasize to the board and to poll workers for the day is what you are here for has nothing to do with who's running for office, has nothing to do with who wins or who loses. It's about the voters' ability to cast their ballot on election day. It's about the process. You are an agent of that process. You're not there for a candidate. You're not there for an elected official. You're there for the voter. And it's very important to remember that. One of the things that I can't emphasize enough is it's very important that you, as the Board of Elections and as people working at the polls, do your level best not to indicate any bias. You need to be as objective, as neutral as possible. Try not to engage in conversations about the candidates or the issues. It's just important to remain as objective as you possibly can throughout the process. When you are actually interacting with the voters, try to avoid language that suggests a bias. Say things like the voter of your choice, whoever you wish to vote for, that sort of thing. I just want to emphasize that. Go ahead, Kelsey, I'm sorry. People will have the impression that because you're involved in the election process, you have some sort of inside knowledge of what's going on. And that simply isn't the case. And until the end of the day, you have no more idea what people are putting in those ballot boxes than anybody else does. And go ahead to the next one. Keep in mind that an appearance of bias on the part of an election worker can tarnish the whole process. That's why it's just very important to use neutral language, avoid those conversations, and stay objective. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, go ahead to the next one. For election day itself, you'll need to arrive at the polling place around 6:30, and I'm not going to follow these by rote. All this information is in your packet, but be there by 6:30 a.m. Town staff will have done a lot of setup the day before, but we will be there at 6:30 to meet you and provide you with the actual materials, the ballot, the voter rolls, and the VAT cards. You will need to bring whatever food, drink, personal items you need for the day because you will be at the polling place for the duration. You can't come and go. Now, you can have people bring you stuff. You can order food for delivery, anything like that. You just can't leave to go get food and come back. Because of the way it works out with the board and the poll workers and their respective personal districts, one of the poll workers will need to be at Buckingham Presbyterian right at 7 a.m., cast their vote, if they choose, and then go over to the police department for the remainder of the day. It's just a matter of, you can't cast a vote for districts 1 and 2 at the police department, and we don't have that perfectly even division of voting districts.
Miss Mary?
Yes.
I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to speak up and I find myself running out of air.
Yeah, it's a little hard.
Yeah. Let's see. The board chair, Mr. Freen, will also be available to run kind of back and forth. And that could be things like, you will have a little more freedom of movement, obviously. If you find that you're running out of supplies at one place, you can come to town hall and we can get you those supplies and that sort of thing. I think that's about that. Okay. The materials, and this is part of the list that I gave you a little while ago. You will have, I'm not going to read through this, but you'll basically have all the official things that you need. The appropriate number of ballots, legal pads, forms. You will also have cleaning supplies because of the COVID pandemic. That'll be wipes, disposable masks, gloves, hand sanitizer. You will also have acrylic shields that will sit between you and the voter for those who are actually processing the voters. This year, instead of having a handful of pens, we have enough pens for every voter. Hand them a pen and it's theirs to take. That way we don't have to worry about sanitizing pens and that sort of thing. You'll also have, for the voters, cardboard cubicles, you know, those three-sided, I don't know what else to call them except cubicles, where they can cast their,
Science fair project.
yeah, science fair, trifold, yeah, things. Where they can mark their ballots in private. And then the ballot boxes, of course, where they will deposit their ballots. You'll have a number of office supply type things, try to kind of anticipate anything you might need through the day. The ballot boxes, large manila envelopes, and we'll get into what those are for a little later. You'll have a couple of larger district maps posted on the wall for people to look at if they're unsure of, you know, if they're in the right place or that sort of thing. And then the outdoor signage, which we will have out the day before. Okay, so this is where we get to the nitty-gritty of how to process a voter. The voter walks in and says, "I'm John Smith." The first thing that you're going to do, or you're going to ask them their name and address, you're going to look their information up in the voter roll. And that is this notebook here. The register looks just like it looks there. You'll find their name. You will then pull their name out of the VAC cards. VAC stands for, I think, voter activity card, meaning it just records who they are, what they've done. Then, go ahead to the next. You'll hand the voter this card. They'll read over the information, make sure it's all correct. If everything is correct, they'll sign it. Hand it back to you.
What if something is incorrect?
Sorry?
What if something is incorrect?
Well, and we will get to that, if there is incorrect information. Oops, what did I do in my legal pad? I think I might have skipped a step. No, I didn't. You will have a legal pad at each polling place, number it 1 to whatever down the side. After the voter has verified who they are, where they belong, you'll just write their name in on the legal pad next to the number. Go ahead. Well, no, you're fine, I'm sorry. On the VAC card, you'll write the number from the legal pad. As you can see, I can't read it from here. It says voter tally number. You're going to write the number from the legal pad, then under judge's initials, your initials, and of course the voter will have already signed. Go ahead. This will get filed at the back of the box, and there will be a marker that says completed VAC cards. Let's get that out of order. On the voter roll, you're going to kind of do the same thing. Number from the legal pad, date and initials, and the ballot style is something that causes a lot of heartburn between me and the county every year. The voter roll and the VAC cards are divided between the two polling places. The Buckingham Presbyterian only has voters for districts 1 and 2. The police department will only have voters for districts 3 and 4. The ballot styles, however, are going to read the way that they're shown up there. District 1 is ballot style 1, 2 is 2. However, District 3 is also going to show as ballot style 1, and District 4 is ballot style 2. It's okay because they will only be at the police department, so there's no getting them mixed up. Let's see. You give the voter the ballot, whatever the ballot is for their respective districts, and a pen. Direct them to a voting station. They cast their votes, fold it up, and put it in the ballot box. I know I went through that very quickly, but once you get down to it, it's fairly obvious as you go through. Go ahead and go to the next one. This is what the ballot looks like. Now, it won't say unauthorized copy on it, but as you can see, our tamper-resistant paper won't even let me scan it without showing that, which is a good thing. Obviously, the only one that I showed there was District 1. Each respective district will have its own information. There's really nothing else about the ballot. People do have the opportunity, if they're unsure of what they're doing or confused, they can ask for assistance. Again, you try to give that assistance without inferring a choice as much as you possibly can. Go ahead to the next one. Okay, this is where we get into the kinds of issues that we run into on election day. The primary issue that you'll probably run into is a voter really lives in District 3, but they think they live in District 1. So they're at the wrong polling place. If you look in the voter roll, they're not in here, you can simply call the other voting place and see if they're there. Check their address. If you check their street address and find that they really belong at the other polling place, just send them over there. Very simple fix. Sorry, let me take just a minute.
So you'll do a phone number exchange between the whole
Yes.
four?
Well, there's a sheet in your guidebook with everybody's phone numbers. Just double check if your cell phone number isn't on there, you might want to provide that to the others.
And will volunteers, does that all, do they get?
I don't have the poll workers' information in there because they're basically, they're basically just at the one place. But of course, also, my cell phone number is throughout a number of places. Please call me with any questions you may have at all. Okay. If the voter comes in, they are not on the roll, they don't have a VAC card, you have looked up their address, they're in the right place, so that it appears that they're just not registered. That may well be the case. In that case, you will need to contact the Worcester Board of Elections, see if they're registered, and they will have a record of what day they registered. If they registered after September 4th, they registered too late to be able to vote in this election. So that's a fairly easy explanation. If it turns out that there's no good explanation, and Worcester County does control this voter roll, so if they say, well, they should be on the roll and they're not, we take their word for it. There will be forms in the book that you can fill out to deal with an unusual circumstance like that. Go ahead and go to the next one. I think that's the one that has the yes. So these are the two forms that you'll have that are blanks to deal with those kinds of issues. The one on the right, the missing incorrect VAC card, that serves two purposes. If the voter is on the roll but doesn't have a VAC card for some reason, which should not happen, but if it does, you would fill that out and file that like you would any other VAC card. To the question of, someone asked if the information on their printed VAC card is incorrect, you would fill out one of those cards, have them handle it just like a regular one, sign off on it, and then staple it to the incorrect card. Let's see, the form for election day issues, that's a little more of a catch-all form. It could be something like a voter, you don't allow them in because they're not wearing a mask. And so you want to make a note of that was an issue and it occurred, and just have it on there. Go ahead.
Should a name go with that?
If possible.
Okay.
If possible. As I said, that's a little more of a kind of a catch-all form. That's the sort of thing, right off the bat, I can't necessarily think what kind of issues have come up in the past where that form has been used. But it's there if needed. Go ahead to the next one, Kelsey. Other than that, once you have corrected, if they're eligible to vote by the Worcester County Board of Elections, then you just go ahead and process them. Otherwise, as normal, hand them a ballot and send them to vote. However, if the Worcester Board of Elections says, nope, they're not on the roll, we don't have any record of them, then they cannot vote. It's as simple as that. If they're not appropriately registered and there's no record, they cannot vote. Go ahead. Okay, some other issues that we may encounter. Basically, I'm sure you've all seen the news, you've seen some of the kinds of issues that have been happening with face coverings and social distancing. The poll workers will be inside and outside the building to try to facilitate that, remind people to put their masks on as they come in, and to social distance should there be difficulty. Should someone decide that they want to put up a fuss about it. The police department will be on call and available. There are non-emergency numbers right there. For those of you who are in the same building, it becomes very easy. But I will tell you that we do also have disposable masks, so that if people just show up and they've forgotten, we do have masks you can give them so that they can vote. You also have gloves if people prefer. If a ballot box becomes full, meaning that they can't put any more ballots in it, 2 poll workers, could be board members or poll workers, will open the box and either tamp it down or remove the ballots from the box, put them in a manila envelope, seal it, initial it, tape it, and just write the district number on the front. Anytime that you have to open this box, you want 2 of you there. Every time. Don't do it, don't take it into another room. Do it right there where people can see what you're doing. It doesn't mean they can see into the box, but they can see what you're doing. So that there's no inference that anything untoward is happening.
Look on the ground, make sure you don't drop it.
Right, make sure you don't drop anything like that. If you find that you need to empty the ballot box more than once, don't reopen an envelope. You'll have a handful of them in there. Use a new envelope at each time. Go ahead to the next one. Let's see. Okay. Polls close at 7 p.m. What that means, though, is that anyone who is in line at 7 p.m. gets to vote. There will be a barricade at each polling place. So at 7 p.m., that barricade will go behind whoever the last voter is. Police department will also try to be available. It's impossible to say if there will still be people in line at 7, how many people, but basically the rule of thumb is if they're in line at 7 o'clock, they get to vote. If you get into the voter roll and you find that someone has come in, identified themselves, and the word absentee is written already next to their name, it means that they applied for an absentee ballot and were sent one, so they are considered to have already voted. They do not then get to cast a ballot. Any questions about any of this, and that's my cell phone number.
So the absentees will be marked.
Yes, they will be marked. Their VAT card won't even be available to you on that day, and they will be marked in the voter roll.
Even if they say they didn't have a chance to mail it in or drop it off, it doesn't matter. They've had the opportunity. We can't risk somebody voting twice.
So we're not to accept absentees.
You can accept ballots. If somebody walks in with a ballot in their hand, yes, they can give that to you.
Okay.
But what you can't do is if they walk in and say, well, I never received my ballot, so I want to vote now, they can't. All right, go ahead and go to the next one.
Let me have a question.
Yes.
So if someone walks in with an absentee ballot, we'll check them in just like we normally.
No, you won't need to do anything. If they walk in, what they will have, if they've received an absentee ballot, is an envelope with the town's address, both return and addressee, and it will say on the bottom, municipal absentee ballot.
Okay.
That envelope should be sealed, and all they should do is hand it to you.
We have a place to put those if needed.
You can just put them. You're gonna have one of these boxes that all your supplies are gonna be in. You could put them in a manila envelope, but because they're sealed in an envelope, it's not as important to maintain the, you know what I mean? So
Right.
just so long as at the end of the day you can pull them all out and count them.
Okay, so do not put them in the ballot box.
Right, because you have no way of knowing until you open it what district it's for.
Okay.
So you don't want to put it in the ballot box because they can return those to any polling place. And of course, again, if someone does come in and feels like they should have already gotten their ballot, you can refer them to me. We've already received a number of certificates for poll watchers. The form that is shown there is the official form. They don't have to have that form. They can just have a note from the candidate saying, so-and-so is a poll watcher for candidate Smith, and that's enough.
What's the possibility of forgement?
It's possible, I suppose, but I would say if someone was going to go to the length of forging a note like that, they're probably there to cause problems. And if that becomes the issue, you have the right to tell them to leave anyway. Poll workers must have either a form or a statement. They can come into the polling place before it actually opens. They can be in the room when you're tabulating ballots at the end of the day. However, they cannot interfere in any way with what you are doing or with any voting. They can't stop voters as they're leaving and say, hey, who'd you vote for? Their whole job is to stand there and watch, literally, poll watchers. If you run into any problems with a poll watcher, you can discuss it among yourselves, and if you decide that the person needs to leave, then they need to leave. This is something that is emphasized with the poll watchers and with the candidates. You have final say over whether or not their conduct is appropriate and allowed. The cannot use any means to communicate, that's a tough one. These days everybody's on their phone checking Facebook, playing games. It's kind of hard to enforce that, but if you felt like it was becoming an issue, again, you could certainly ask them to put their phone away or whatever. Go ahead to the next one. Okay, polling place assignments. This is something, let's see. All right, Steve is the chair. So what part of my problem is that I have both Nikki and Steve who have never done this before. So I don't want to put the two of them in a polling place without a more experienced worker. But then what's going to happen is one of you you'll have to travel to the other polling place to cast your vote. So this is, until I have a chair, it's hard for me to just say this is where whoever is going to be. If Linda, Tony, and Preston are at the police department, see, that's not going to work. I'm going to need one of you three, because you have all worked an election before. I'm going to need one of you to be at Buckingham. Can I get a volunteer? Tony, you know I'm going to look at you because you've been doing this the longest. So in that case, this is what we'll do then. I'm going to say that, gosh, why can't I think? I can't think. All right, Linda and Preston will be at the police department. Tony and Nikki at Buckingham, and then Steve floats between. So what will then end up happening is, Tony, you'll need to know. I'm trying to figure out how to get Tony to be able to vote.
Steve sit in
Yeah,
for a minute?
Steve could relieve Tony. Tony could go to the other polling place, cast his vote, and come back. That'll be the easiest way to do this, and that's something you guys can work out between you. Yeah, thank you, Kelsey. Normally we've had a more even distribution among the districts, so it was easier to do that division. Okay, so now what did I just say?
So Steve will, you have Tony and Nikki at Buckingham, Linda and Preston at police. Steve's gonna float, and when Tony would like to vote, Steve will sit in his place so he has the opportunity to go cast his vote.
All right, that sounds good. So then, Steve, what I'll say is meet us, or meet me. It'll be, Jeff will be at 1, I'll be at the other at 6:30. Why don't we say you'll meet us at Buckingham? help them get set up, and then we'll go over to, and Jeff will be helping them set up at the police department, and then go over there.
Okay.
And then, other than that, you're just gonna kind of get a feel for the day. If it seems super busy at one place, you'll stay there, that sort of thing.
Typically, is there a busier?
I would say typically Buckingham will be the busier of the two. Okay, so does that make sense to everybody?
We got a plan.
All right, I hate planning on the fly, it's not my strong suit. Now, as to the poll workers, so that we avoid that same kind of situation, we're going, well, you have already indicated that you would be willing to be at one to vote and then go to the other, so
Yes.
that's very helpful. So we're gonna say that then Glendola and Susan will be at the police department for the day, and then Cassidy, and I'm gonna have to find out about our fourth worker at Buckingham Presbyterian. So plan to be at your respective polling places at 6:30, and we'll go from there, okay? I think,
I'm trying to take notes so that way I
and
can
I
help you out
appreciate
later.
that. I really appreciate that. Okay, and I think that's basically everything. Please ask me questions. I know I have flown through this.
Any particular place you want us to park at the venues, at the polling places?
Not particularly. The church has a decent sized parking lot. It's never been an issue. I suppose you could park, if you're facing the church, their main parking area is on the left. There are a few parking spaces on the right. Maybe you could park over there. And the entrance there at the church will be
On that
the
side.
side entrance on the left.
Okay.
And then at the police department, same thing, they're gonna try to make sure none of their staff is parked on that, and at the police department, the entrance will be on the right, all the way on the right, they're gonna make sure none of their guys are parked over there, so just, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Anything else? Yes?
What will we as poll workers actually be?
You will be there, sorry, that would have been nice to go into, wouldn't it? You will be there to provide relief for the poll workers. You know, if they just need to get up and go eat, you use the restroom, whatever.
Okay.
You can fill in for them doing that. But the other thing will be the wiping up, the door handles, the voting stations, anything like that, as well as monitoring people who are coming in and making sure that they're wearing the face coverings and trying to maintain social distancing. We will be putting tape marks down inside the buildings as well as outside to an extent. So that will tell people how, you know, how far apart to stay.
Okay.
You know, the only other thing I can say is I have not gotten an impression in Berlin that too many people have been resistant to wearing masks the way you've seen in some other communities. But if you should run into someone who is resistant, as I said, please call the police department and they'll be happy to step in.
Most people, I think, if you carry maybe a little handful of the disposables
Yeah.
and you say, you know, we're asking that you wear a mask, you know, you can hand them one, maybe they'll just say we have our own, you know, whatever. But
Yeah.
that, if you have it, then most people are less resistant to.
And I would say it's not something you necessarily need to worry about while they're standing in line if they're outside the building. But once they come in, then it does become,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, and the other question is, from personal experience at Buckingham, sometimes the candidates get pretty close to the door.
There will be signs placed saying no campaigning beyond this point.
Okay,
And actually, in the board, the information I provided, the candidates have all been reminded of that no campaigning is allowed within 100 feet. It's always kind of a gray area, and I don't know if any of the candidates have even done this, if they've done things like buttons or anything like that, hats, anything. But if someone is in line wearing something that is for a particular candidate, then they should remove it. There is no campaigning permitted within 100 feet.
okay.
Mary, is it possible like some of the stores have, no mask, no service?
Well, we have been putting out the information that masks are required, so
I
yes.
mean, at the poll.
And there will be signs that say face coverings required.
Okay.
So yes, it's not an option, it is a requirement.
And we, like Mary said, there will be police, available
Yeah.
to you guys if somebody gets unruly.
Yeah. Apparently, Arnold actually told me this story today during the primaries. At one of the polling places, they had someone who was simply just refusing to put a mask on. And finally, what the election judges said was, fine, we'll just clear out the entire polling place so that you can vote. And at that point, the gentleman was embarrassed enough that he put a mask on. So if it comes right down to it, that's an option. I mean, the important thing here is we want to preserve people's ability and right to vote. Unfortunately, some people want to turn things into something else. So if it comes down to that, then that's a possibility, but hopefully nobody will take it that far.
And only to touch on that, because I've had to deal with it elsewhere, and maybe you want to address your preferred way for everyone to deal with it, but if someone poses a health issue for the reason that they're not wearing a mask, because it's happened to me before.
Yeah, that's a tough, I would say, and that would be a case then of, it would have to be, okay, you're gonna need to wait here, everybody in front, ahead of you, you have to wait for them to clear out, and then you can go in, cast your vote, and leave. That would be the best way to handle that.
Just
We're
so
not
everyone
screening.
knows,
We're not screening anyone.
Right, no, we're
temperature
not doing
or-
temperature checks or anything like that. But if someone does say that they have a health reason that they can't wear the mask, yeah,
And Ms. Mary?
yes.
As a poll worker, if someone comes up to me and asks me a question, about a ballot or whatever, I should point them to one of the...
You should, you know, it becomes kind of a judgment call of what's an appropriate question, an easy question to answer. If people do also have the right, though, if there's a language barrier or a vision issue, we do have magnifiers that we will have available to people if they need assistance to read the ballot. If it's a language issue, they do have the right to have a translator. You know, if they can't read English, say, and they need their child to accompany them, that's allowed.
Okay.
But
we have no one that we can offer to assist them?
Unfortunately, no. We don't have anyone who is bilingual that I'm aware of, at least. You know, a lot of that kind of thing comes down to common sense. And obviously, if you run into any kind of an issue where you don't feel like you really know how to handle it, then yes, the board, at the end of the day, the board is the board, and they do make those final decisions. Okay. Any other questions?
And what did you say if a language barrier problem does occur, what do we do?
Use your Google app.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's not a bad suggestion at all.
Do we have any sort of translated ballots or anything?
We don't. That is something I will try to look into.
I may have a contact that could translate for you.
Michelle does,
Okay.
someone who did a lot
Yeah,
of
sure.
translations for us.
That's what I was
and
going to
things.
suggest.
I will look into that and see if I can have a few bilingual ballots on hand. That's
Do
a
we
good
have
idea.
any preparation for people that are sight impaired, like Braille? Is there Braille ballots or anything like that?
No, there is not. However, that is an instance in which, again, they can bring someone with them, or that is an instance in which you can read to them and they can tell you which one to select.
We can?
Yes, if it came down to that, if it was someone who was blind and said, I need you to read this to me, that is an ADA accommodation that we must make.
And probably would be done in private, I mean, all,
I would say so. I would say make it as private as you can, within reason. And it wouldn't be a bad idea anytime you do have that kind of interaction to have two of you present. Just as a precautionary thing.
Am I, I'm sorry, Mary, these small things, are we going to get those larger?
I can.
Yeah.
I can. I mean, pretty much all of the information that's here, well, the ballot procedures, that's also in your book, but I can print these out.
Yeah.
And I'll have them in the box, just so you.
Or I'll need to borrow that magnifier.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty fine print. Anything else?
Is it required for us to discuss this notice that you sent us, that you passed to us?
It is not required. If you would like to discuss it, you certainly may. They're really being provided to you more as an information thing, just so that you are aware. Because there's a lot of things that I have to do on a day-to-day basis, and I'm doing them as a representative of the board.
I just guess I didn't know if it needed to be in the minutes for today, these notices.
No, I could certainly, if it would make you feel better, and if you would prefer, I can certainly include it as a listing of the information that I provided to you. That's fine, I could do that. Make a note to myself for that. Okay. And if you would like, you can certainly come up, take a look at the material so that you'll see what they look like the day of, give you a little more familiarity with that. Other than that, unless there's any more questions, I think we are set. I'll go. That's okay. Anything else?
For the police station, it's Linda and Preston.
Oh,
and,
yes, thank you.
Belinda and Susan. And then at Buckingham, it's Tony and Nikki and Cassidy and Kim.
Okay, great. Yeah. we'll get into all that.
So you'll be at Buckingham at 6:30, right? 6:30 a.m., Mary?
Yes, 6:30 a.m. And there's a pile of paperwork I can review.
Buckingham Church, not school, right?
Correct.
Yes, sorry.
Correct. Okay, so I'm gonna leave Facebook Live running because until we officially adjourn, it's a public meeting. But if you all would like to take turns and come up and take a look at the materials, and I can kind of walk you through what I've already been through on the stuff.
We'll meet at Buckingham at 6:30. You will be at the police department at 6:30.
Kelsey, can you just grab that paperwork up there and I can kind of go over that with Kim real quick? You've seen all this before. You don't think I'm... No, I mean, it's all the basic stuff, the voter roll, the back cards are pretty much as they've always been.
Did you bring any popcorn with you?
The little pad, so. And of course, like I say, I'm
This
available
weekend for any of
all
the
day
madness?
for any questions. And I'll go with you.
Yeah, obviously Mary is the most knowledgeable, but me and Jeff will be
Your dad
jumping
didn't have
around
to.
too if anyone
That's good.
gets stuck.
I don't want to get injured, that's a pretty soft game.
Good, good. So this is when the voter comes in and says, I'm John Smith. You look them up in here, look them up here, write their name on the legal pad, give them the ballot. So once you do one or two of them, it's all very easy. Yes,
I've never
and I'll give
part
you
of
these,
it.
I'll start them off.
I started when we had an election, and then last year we didn't, last
How are you?
I'm Steve Freeman.
Yes, I know, Steve. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I know
Linda, you got that?
Oh,
you done this before, right?
My smiley face, man.
I have.
It's being washed,
You always
so.
tell it.
So it shouldn't be bad.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I've seen this from the other side.
Right,
Voting
right,
side.
yeah, and that's the thing. Most of you have voted in a town election before, so
Yep.
you've seen this.
And I probably am, will I be sitting down doing this, or will I be supervising, taking a
Both.
turn at some time? Okay,
Yes,
great.
yes. And, you know, as I said, even the poll workers, while it's not gonna be their primary function, they'll
Yeah.
even have a sense of presence online.
Oh, very good. I'll see you
All right.
at 6:30 Buckingham.
Okay,
How you doing,
all right.
Good, how are you?
I'm not complaining.
Bye, Steve, I'll see
Right,
you next time.
yeah, you've seen all this before as well.
It is, at least we'll,
All right.
It's your first time talking?
yeah, at least we'll be busy.
Yeah. Hey, take care.
I think it's
Bye.
pretty exciting.
Well, you've got a hands-on tutor. It's how you have to do it. So this is, yeah, where Bear comes in.
I don't know. I haven't heard.
We're rolling
I've been all
up.
myself.
So we'll,
Yeah, I know.
4 out of 5 of us will basically see it doing this.
And, you know, once you get going, it's up to you. If you want to go stand outside for a while,
Right.
you're free to do that. You're not tied to a chair.
And are you in town hall that
I will
night?
be here from 6:30. I will meet at one of the places at 6:30, and I'll be here until whenever.
So no town representative will be on either site?
We may
Without
be there for a
request.
few minutes, right, but we will not be there all day. It's just better to maintain that arm's length from the process.
All right.
All
Bye.
right, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
All right, I will go.
I can stop it if you got anything else you gotta do.